Okay, so this first piece we have here is this really neat butterfly. I picked it up in a secondhand store because I thought it was kind of interesting. It's got real fur, some faux pearls, and some little crystals in there. It's not stamped, but it does have a nice long pin here. I did do some Googling on this piece, and I did determine that it is 1950s to 1960s. And I paid $5 for it at a secondhand store. Nice little piece. Now this piece is one of my favorites. It is just gorgeous. So this is a 1950s style. You can tell by these here, this construction. 1950s style brooch. It has these AB stones, which were starting to be produced in 1955. So we know that this is at least 1955 or newer. Beautiful. I love this piece. I paid $12 for this in a consignment store. This one, my best guess is maybe 1960s, but I really don't know. If it will focus, there we go. It's a beautiful brooch and earrings set. It's not stamped. They're very pretty. So it has a rollover clasp. And unfortunately, I just don't know enough yet to be able to identify everything. So yeah, this is one set that I'm just gonna have to research a little bit more. I paid $18 for this set at a consignment store. Now this one, this one might be my favorite in my entire collection. I just think it is so quirky. I think this style is supposed to be like a basket, but ever since I found this piece, I always think of a car. Like if somebody in the 50s were trying to think about what a car would look like in the 2000s, this is kind of what I picture them thinking. Like it's just kind of where my mind goes, and I really don't know why, but it's quirky, it's fun. I love the color. These stones are the AB stones, so we know that it's no older than 1955, but it does have a C clasp, which is kind of a signature of a much older brooch. So this one leaves me a little bit perplexed. If anybody knows anything about it or why it might have the older clasp with the newer stones, feel free to let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what you have to say. And I paid $12 for this guy at a consignment store. Now, these ones, are these beautiful? I love these. I paid $3 for these at a vintage bookstore. They are not stamped, but I can tell from the construction that these are probably 1950s. And we have the AB crystals. So 1955 or newer. But yeah, $3. Like, you can't go wrong. Look at how beautiful these are. I love them. Now this next piece is a Scottish grouse claw kilt or sash pin. I love this. When I saw it, I didn't know what this meant, what it was. I just thought it was so neat. It's a real grouse claw. I think it's amazing that it's still intact. So now this, my guess is going to be late 1800s to maybe 1910 because of this nice long pin here and then this kind of wide C clasp right there. It's kind of an indicator that it might be late 1800s, early 1900s. So these are something that men would wear on their kilt, their sash. It was kind of seen as a good luck charm for game hunting. I paid $18 for this at a consignment store, and it was well worth the money. I love this piece. So these, I'm not very sure how old these are or if they're old. I bought them because I just really liked them. I think they're beautiful. There's no markings on them. I paid $3 for these in a vintage bookstore. And yeah, I love them. I think they're beautiful. So this is a very special piece because it was a birthday gift from my brother. I don't know for certain how old this one is. It does have a rollover clasp, which is, it can indicate that it's a little bit newer, like 50s maybe, but it has, let's see if I can find it. It has a mark that says sterling. And I have found through research that sterling is a mark that was only used up until 1940. So, I'm not sure. This could be a 1930s piece with a new clasp. It could be a newer piece. I'm not too sure. I love it though. Beautiful. Purple stones, kind of a red stone in the middle, purple around the outside. Very heavy piece, very sturdy. So these are relatively new to my collection. I love green. Green is my favorite color. And these are stamped coral. Now, I did a little bit of research on coral, and this particular trademark, I think, is 1960s. Also, this backing here in the 50s, this circular part was open. So I think these might be 1960s. And I paid, I think I paid $6 for these at a consignment store. Okay, these beauties I just love the color. I don't know a lot about these because they are not marked in any way. I did try to do a little bit of research, but I will continue to learn as I go. So I don't know if these are true vintage, vintage reproduction. I would like to think that they might be true vintage. I think they are, but I don't know a lot about them. I paid $3 for these in a vintage bookstore, and they're just beautiful. I love them. These ones, I really don't know if these are vintage. I kind of don't think they are, but because I'm so new to this, I don't fully know. But I thought that they were really cool, really funky. And I paid $4 for these at a secondhand store. So even if they're not vintage, even if they're just imitation vintage, I think they're just great. Very cool, very funky. So these I picked up last night at our local secondhand store. I don't know if these are vintage or not. I have no idea. I think they're really cool though. I think they have a vintage vibe, and I really enjoy this kind of fan shape. They are not marked in any way. They're just kind of simple. If anyone knows anything about some of these pieces, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to hear your thoughts. But these are cool. I love the fan aesthetic. And speaking of fans, these are much newer. Although I think could still be, definitely 80s or something. These are really cool fan earrings. Really beautiful blue, kind of iridescent. Very big, very statement making. I love these. I think they're so cool. So these ones I picked up for $6 at a consignment store, and I think they're super, super cool. Yeah, I wear these all the time. So something that I know is not vintage, but I wanted to include them because I love them. So these are vintage inspired, and they are not vintage. They are marked, I don't know if you can see that, but they're marked Kate Spade, New York. So the oldest that these guys can be is 90s, which is probably pushing vintage now. But not as old as some of the other pieces. Really pretty though. I like them. Okay, so we have a little red flower here. Little enamel pin. Because this is here, this construction style, I think this might be 50s, maybe 60s. I'm not 100% sure, but this here makes me think that it could be. I just think that this is simple, it's easy to wear, it's kind of a basic, an everyday pin, which is nice to have. I paid $1 for this at a thrift store. Wonderful find. This one I'm not sure when this one would have been made. It's genuine leather. And I just don't know anything about it. I bought it because I thought it was kind of neat. Another one of those easy to wear everyday brooches. So, if you know anything about this style, please leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. I think I paid 50 cents for this piece. Now this one, this one I just bought very recently because I love this. I love the green here. It is stamped Monet. There we go. But I don't think that this is an older piece. I could be wrong, but I think this is one of the newer ones. It was a little bit hard to find information. I did look up the trademark to see if I could date it that way, but it was a little bit tricky to really see fully what I was looking at. And so this one will need just a little bit more research. I paid $20 for it because I just really liked it. I think it's very cute. Okay, so we have a couple rings, and then we are going to move on to necklaces. So this ring is a very special piece. This was my grandma's. Black Alaskan diamond or hematite. It is stamped 10 karat somewhere in there. There we go. I don't know a lot about this, but because it was hers, I believe she got this in the 60s. I love this ring, very neat. This one is a ring that I bought on a whim because it was really cheap and I really thought it was pretty. Now it is stamped sterling, very, very faintly stamped sterling. So I'm wondering if this might be a 1930s ring. Again, I don't really know a lot about it, but I can make another video as I learn and kind of update on some of these. Beautiful ring. I think I paid like $10 for this ring. Okay, moving into necklaces. This first piece I know is not vintage in any way. I got this in Las Vegas. I just wanted to show it because I love it. It is one of my favorites. It is such a showstopper. And I do a lot of dance performances, and I wear this a lot for that. I thought it deserved a little spotlight. Now this piece is a simple pearl necklace that my kids gave me. It's got a lot of weight to it, and it has a box closure. So I'm gonna guess 1950s. There's no markings, but because of the closure, I think I'm gonna guess 1950s, maybe early 1960s. My kids bought this for me for $1 at a garage sale, and I love it. Now this piece, I think this is so neat. The way it lays, the way it is designed is so cool. But I don't know how vintage it is. And the reason I say that is because of this guy right here. This lobster claw clasp. These became kind of the it closure in the 90s. So, I mean, I guess the clasp could be replaced, but I don't know. I'm not sure how vintage this guy is. Still love it though. Still very cool. I still wear it all the time. I love pink. So I paid more for this than a lot of other pieces. I paid $35 for this, but I definitely think it was worth the money because I get a lot of joy out of it and I get a lot of use out of it. So, yeah. Okay. So the last pieces that I'm going to show today are these three here. So this one is a faux pearl green, 2 tones. And I bought it because, well, I love green, but I also thought that these were kind of interesting. It is marked Japan. And it has this kind of hook closure. And from what I have read, that is kind of an indicator of a 50s to 60s piece. But I wear this a lot for Christmas time or just any time. It's kind of a everyday, just feeling a little extra special piece. I paid $5 for this guy. I don't remember which store I got it at, but I remember it was $5 or $6. So this one I actually got in a vintage subscription box, and they told me that this was 1950s with the white kind of milky stones here and then the AB crystals here. This kind of interesting chain detail. So they told me authentic 1950s, but this, it does have that kind of hook clasp, but this looks like a different metal than the rest of the necklace. I'm not sure if you can tell. This is a lot shinier, a lot more gold. It does not look original to the piece. So therefore, I don't know. I'm not sure about it. Still beautiful. Very heavy. I wear this a lot because it is a great way to get a lot of sparkly attention without wearing something humongous. This baby catches the light in all the right ways. It's just beautiful. And last but not least, we have this one. I did not buy this with any expectations at all that it could be vintage, because I don't know. I bought it because I think it's beautiful. But it does have this kind of barrel closure. And I'm unsure about it because it doesn't look like your typical barrel enclosure. It's quite long or wide, and it's smooth. And most barrel enclosures that I see on necklaces have got grooves so that you can grip them a little bit better. I did try to look up this kind of longer, smooth style, and I couldn't really find much, so I'm going to continue to keep an eye open. If anybody knows what that is, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know more about this piece. It's relatively new in my collection. But I just thought it was kind of demure, kind of pretty for those days when you just want to be a little bit extra.